agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, December 7th, 2023. And this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 457. Before we actually get started, you guys kind of set the agenda for these calls, but I had a proposed topic if anybody has any input. If not, it might just give you something to think about for future input. About 3 years ago during the pandemic, Tim and I discussed this and we kind of saw it coming, but I think it's an idea whose time has come. One thing that really seems to be catching momentum today, if you guys saw the latest issue of the NAR magazine, the federal government is fast tracking low interest loans, grants, and tax incentives for converting office and industrial space into residential housing. And it kind of reminds me of back in 2004 when the condo conversion craze hit. Can you imagine if you had been out in front of that? I mean, there's billions to be made, and there are a lot of empty office buildings, and there is a need for residential property. So if any of you are working on any projects or aware of any projects, we'd love to hear about it. Also, we might want to talk about like what's happening in regard to affordable housing in your market. Are there local, regional incentives, et cetera? And if nobody's got any input, just start thinking about it. You never know where that question may lead. Bruce, it's all yours. And you're muted.
I am muted. I figured you guys didn't want to hear any coughing in the background.
Yes, sir.
I feel like I run 6 months out of the year coughing. So, yeah, guys, welcome in. I want to welcome everyone that is watching via live stream on YouTube and Facebook. Welcome you guys if you're watching after the fact on YouTube or listening on your podcast app. For those of you that are here, if you ever want to go back and listen to any missed episodes, or if you heard an idea and you just can't remember what it is, our YouTube channel has all the past recordings of this call, and whatever your favorite podcast app, if you look up All the Leads, has recordings of these calls as well. So if you ever want to go back and listen to things that you missed or things that you attended and just reconfirm or reestablish that idea that you picked up, please go do that and follow us on those channels. It's been a good week for a lot of folks. I've had conversations with people all week long that have been getting some traction in the probate space. And so we're here to talk about those with everyone. We want to hear your wins and your success stories. Furthermore, we want to hear your questions. So if you are new in the life transition space, specifically kind of inherited property probate, jump in here, raise your hand. Ask your questions if you're experienced and just have some ideas that you want to share, or maybe an advanced level question. Go ahead and raise your hand and ask your question. If you're on live stream, you can chat your questions in underneath of that, and we will call on you guys. We always kind of just sort of chit chat here for a first couple of minutes while we're waiting on some hands to go up and some questions to be had. But I would like to know from those of you that are here right now on Zoom, and if you're watching on live stream, you can chat this in underneath. I'd like to know from you guys, just go to chat and tell us how long you've been pursuing the probate niche. So I see some people that have been in this space for a long, long time. And I see some faces that look a little bit newer to me. So I want to know how long you guys have been pursuing the probate niche. So just go in and underneath and chat so that we can see some of that. We want to hear if you guys are pursuing, and if you're not pursuing it yet and you're looking for probate leads, that's what All the Leads does. They start with probate leads, and then they also provide systems and coaching that's needed along the way. Because with any good niche that you're pursuing, you need a way to prospect, you need a way to market, you need a way to present yourself credibly, and you need training. And ATL gives all of those. So they give the leads with contact information and contacts and mail addresses and emails. They give social media marketing options. They provide letters and a mail house to be able to mail your leads. We train you and coach you. We've got Coach Ken here, train and coach you on how to have those conversations and what your mailing campaign needs to look like. Build websites for you if you want to establish yourself for the people that don't reach out right away, but they might go stalk you and look up your website. So many different things. This is a system for you guys, though. And I want you looking at this niche like a system. You need to be a system person if you're going to succeed in real estate. So many real estate agents or real estate investors come in and they think, hey, business is going to come to me. I can think of my beginning in 2003. I was working for a builder, and wasn't a big builder. It was just a small individual builder. He had maybe five or six workers, and I was one of those workers. And I would smash my thumb or hit my head or fall through a hole probably every other day. And it was miserable, especially through the winter. It was cold. It was not fun. And after about a year and a half of that, I thought it must be easier selling this product than building this product. And I left, and I promptly went from making $10 an hour to $1 an hour over the next year to 2 years. Okay. Thinking that it was going to be easy, but I didn't go into the real estate business with a systems mindset. It took me a few years to figure out that I needed systems and how to use systems and how to not spend money on the wrong things and how not to spend my time doing the wrong things and how not to send people running away from me when I asked them for business, how to actually attract them to work with me. It took a little while. And if you guys are A, new to real estate, you need that. But B, there's a lot of folks here that are not new in the real estate space. You're just new in this niche. And you have to look at this niche with the exact same systems mindset that you look at your business with. So you need systems for your business, but you also need to establish a system and a structure and a process and automations for each individual niche that you have. So for those of you that are experienced in this space, we want to hear from you guys. Raise your hands and talk to us a little bit about what systems you guys use and what tweaks and adjustments. If you're new, raise your hand and ask us about those systems. We have all kinds of strategies for you guys. With that said, I'm going to mute myself and cough, and I'm going to let Jim and Ken and Tim have a chat for a minute before I just completely lose it.
Ken, anything to add, Tim?
I just love it. I'm sorry you're having such trouble, bud. Jim, I have a question for you. I had a network problem in the beginning. Did you mention at all what you had talked to me about in the beginning?
I did. Absolutely. Okay. Yep. I just threw it out there. Like everything else, if nobody has any, feedback today, once you start asking yourself that.
I'm going to ask you to do it again because I saw how many people were in the hopper when you did that. And there's 3 times that many people on now. So I didn't hear you. That's why I'm asking you to do it again.
Okay, sure. What I had mentioned was, if you look at the latest NER article, there was an article there about what we think is it's not a trend. There's a lot of momentum building around it. There's a lot of empty office space, and there's a shortage of residential property. The federal government has a big push now to give incentives as far as grants, tax incentives, low interest loans for people that want to convert commercial space to residential. And Tim, I likened it to the condo conversion craze back in 2004. I think there's an opportunity to get out ahead of that. So I'm just curious if you guys look around your market, see if you see opportunities like that and start asking yourself the question, how can I get in the middle of it? What my original mentor said, people want to buy, they want to sell. Your job is to get in the middle and then to get out of the way. So we believe there's significant opportunity there. And even if you just want to reach out to me and talk about it, feel free to do that off the call, jim@alltheleads.com. And once you ask yourself that question, you'd be surprised. You'll probably start to see opportunities where you can take advantage of that trend.
I want to add something else to that too. As some of you may know or don't know, I've talked about this 2 or 3 times. I've kind of got a heart and a mission for not only homeless, but low income housing. I think it's vitally important. The two things that help people break the generational poverty cycle that exists in our country today are good housing, good education, and as a nation, we don't do a really good job at doing that, and so it's part of something that I'm interested in. The other thing that's happening that I'm seeing is this it's right in the same vein here, is that communities are offering significant incentives and tax incentives and grants and other things to do what Jim said, even more so if it's being done towards providing affordable housing. Jim and I got involved in a project that we tried to do, and happy to admit our successes as well as our failures. And we didn't get this one done. We found a really nice piece of property nearby where we are. It was a school that had been closed, an elementary school had been closed for I don't know, almost 20 years, and was still in pretty good shape, actually in very good shape. And we found that the process of getting it from where it was to a commercially viable development, with the idea of potentially converting it into low-income housing, wasn't even going to work. It was just going to take way too long, and that the value of it as land knocking the building down was far greater than it would have been otherwise. So we moved from that to putting up 300-400 units of apartment housing, and not necessarily affordable housing and all that. And then we ran into all kinds of other problems, and we didn't get the job done. So we had to, we scrapped that project. You live and learn. But we learned a lot about it going forward. Now that same community and others in our local market here are offering incentives to go do that. So the reason that I'm bringing that up as well is that I'm asking you to go and do your own local research. Go into, Google and search your local newspaper and look for affordable housing, community grants for affordable housing and conversions and all of those things that are there. And we want to hear back from you. We're interested in this. I know that Jim has a very good mind for thinking through these kinds of things. And oftentimes when he lands on something like this, sometimes I want to support it, sometimes I don't. Not because I don't want to support what he's doing, but some things, strike a note with me as well. And usually when we're both on the same wavelength on things, we're pretty close to being correct about where things are going. And on this one, I don't think there's any question that the work at home stuff that's going on is what's causing the availability of former office space and industrial space to be there. Lots of companies own lots of real estate that they're going to die with if they don't find something else to do with it. And there's an opportunity that, is huge to do this. So you need to be looking and do feed it back. We want to be a conduit for it. And the more we learn about it, the more we can potentially help you. So I'm just backstopping what Jim said.
Also, if you see a mall or something, you don't have $100 million lying around, reach out to us. We've got some pretty good source of funding. We may be able to help you get the deal done. We can't make any promises, but we love playing with it. It'd be fun to put one of those together.
Bruce has the money, I believe.
Bruce has 50 million. He would need the other 50 million.
Right. But, and I think Ken has the rest. So we're good to go. That's really, that's what matters.
Too.
Yeah.
All right.
And we can always tap Roger, because I think Roger's been stashing money for years, living off of our leads. So I know Roger's got a few mils stashed. He'd love to participate. So I think we're golden here.
Cool. Perfect. Bruce, we got a lot of good answers. We got people 22 years, 5 years. I don't know if you want to look through those and make any comments.
Yeah. No, I wanted to thank everyone for chatting in how long you've been pursuing the probate niche. I just recognized that we turned our you to everyone settings off to where you guys might think that nobody's commenting, but they are. We've got a lot of great comments. They're just coming to us. Several months ago, we had some folks that were less than legitimate that would comment and video bomb us. So that's off. We want everyone to know that we are seeing your messages come in. Roger Lacey has his hand up. Appreciate that. We're going to go to Roger in just a second, but I want to go ahead and remind everyone that this is for you. We want your wins, your ideas, your questions. We're here. This is kind of a coaching call for everybody here, or anyone here. You can benefit by getting direct coaching and asking your questions, or by getting indirect coaching when listening to other people's questions. It's always good if you have questions to go ahead and ask them. I guarantee, as advanced or as basic as it is, you're going to ask a question that several other people have at the same time. So please pop your hands up. Don't worry if it's something that we've addressed before. We will answer it again. So that's what we're here for. With that said, let's jump to Roger. Go ahead, unmute yourself, Roger. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for recognizing me, and I'll put that in my long range and my high cap investment opportunities that you guys are looking for in, where is that? Miami, Tampa. You know, us guys in Arkansas, we don't have we have a completely different scale than you guys. But you know, the Walton family lives up here, and they have Walmart, and we might be able to tap into some money there. But I've been in the business now about 15 years. I jumped into this market, what, Jim, about 7-8 years ago.
Yep.
And it was because the broker, and I'm still with Weichert, the broker has its system of doing things. We were in the middle of, when I joined in 2008, I got my license in 2008, 2009. I had 5 commercial contracts before I retired from AT&T Yellow Pages, and I retired from AT&T Yellow Pages with 21 years selling to people, and I had a big, broad network of businesses that I could call on, and I got my license in August of 2008, and retired in February of 2009. That time frame, while I was still working Yellow Pages, I had 5 commercial contracts, not listings, commercial contracts that were in the process of people really wanting to sell their commercial property. Well, we all know what happened. If you don't know what happened in 2009, the banks just closed up the doors, and every one of those 5, I guess I probably had about $7 million under contract. And about that time, the banks just quit lending money, period, for anything. And I lost all 5 of them. So I was back to zero on what I was doing. And it's just a matter of doing what Weichert teaches common realtors and prospecting. And that's expired. So your network and your FSBOs. And that was the way that business was done. And I didn't have, because I transferred into Northwest Arkansas from Little Rock, I didn't have a big network of people that I went to high school with, because everybody that was in this area had that network already built up, and I had the business network that I had built up. So I started working that, and what I fell into was the not probate. I fell into initially the foreclosure market, foreclosure and short sale market, because that was low hanging fruit for that. And I got recognized by a major bank, Bank of America and Chase Bank, and they were requiring realtors to take care of the property before they had third party property managers going in. So I managed to build a backlog of people that I could bring in to clear properties out and start working on making some minor improvements. What I learned in that process was how to value a property. And it was a bloody nose operation, because I'd send in a broker's price opinion to a property manager in California that was, and he would say, "You need to do this different. You need to do this different. You need to do this different." And he'd send it back to me. And oh, by the way, you didn't fill out your weekly check on the property, so make sure you get the safety checks done. So there's a lot of stuff that just kind of honed me into gradually moving into, and I was naturally attracted to taking care of people and even doing not necessarily evictions, but getting people out of houses so that the bank could foreclose on them and getting that done. So it was a completely different kind of business, but it's the same kind of business that I found in probate, because I'm taking care of people, taking care of property, and helping folks. And I'm seeing now that what's being developed in the business, what's worked with me in ATL is constant calling. It's a smaller market than most of you are in. Y'all are in the Houston markets and much bigger markets. I think the population base that I have in the two county area, Washington County and Benton County, is about 500,000. It's less than 500,000 population, and the whole state of Arkansas has got a population of about 3 million. So it's completely different market than you do. So when you start talking about, and I've pursued the conversation of taking commercial property and moving it into high density apartments or something along that, and it gets a total negative stiff arm. I mean, in this market right here, primarily because we're growing here in Northwest Arkansas rather quickly. I keep my ears open. I keep my mind open. I do that. I have two probate properties that I'm working on, and I've got one that is a elder transition property, and I'm finding that as very lucrative right now, keeping me busy. There's a lot of work involved, but I'm accustomed to doing the kind of work that it takes firsthand, making sure I've got my contractors and keeping informed with them, and so on and so forth. The things that I'm seeing right now that are useful for me is reverse mortgages. That has been a total desert landscape in my market for that. Nobody knows anything about it, and so I try to introduce them and send them to folks like Smitty over there. And I found another reverse mortgage guy in Mountain Home, Arkansas.
Roger, are we talking about reverse mortgages that where you're running into leads that have a reverse mortgage on the property, or you're referring people to get a reverse mortgage?
I'm doing the referral for leads to get a reverse mortgage to help to get the family doing. And what I'm farming in that is a downline pipeline with finding out who the servicer for that reverse mortgage is, and keeping in touch with the family to see how it's going with them, and see when they're going to be moving out, or if they're going to be moving out, because I want to pick that property up as a from the service mortgager, and I keep in touch with the service mortgager as well to let them know that I'm still in the market over here, because those properties can be sold for a profit if there is equity, and it can even be sold at a loss that the service mortgagers may want to do it. It can be sort of a short sale as you do it. So I'm kind of working that in. I did find the guy in Mountain Home has introduced me to a new process that I haven't heard of, and it's a reverse mortgage purchase. It is it is available to all of the reverse mortgage licensees that do that. You have a home, you have someone that wants to leave their home and get into a smaller retirement situation, and they want to downsize what they're living in now. What this reverse mortgage purchase is, sell the good house that they're in right now And if they want to buy, you say you sell the house for $350,000, you will have something like $175,000 that you can put down on a house. You can pay a down payment and do a reverse mortgage on the remainder of that house that you're going to buy. So you can go into another house, put 50% as a down payment on it, and put it into a reverse mortgage. All you got to do is pay taxes, insurance, and maintenance on the property. You don't have a mortgage payment. You have the rest of what you have in your pocket that you can take care of medicine or some in-house stuff. Great little product. I'm finding useful. I found one useful client that might be able to use that particular product. I'm glad to get my guy, or maybe I can talk to Smitty about it and get him on here to talk about some of the stuff on a reverse mortgage purchase. But it's selling a good home, using the proceeds from that to buy another home and pay half down, so that and then you put it into a reverse mortgage. You don't pay anything out on it, on the mortgage. You just maintain insurance and taxes on it. The other thing that I'm seeing that's beginning to crop its head in our market, and it's probably everybody's facing this, is the Missouri commission case that is coming up. We live in Missouri's just to the north of us here in Northwest Arkansas, and I have tried to take the bull by the horns and make sure that I'm addressing that with my clients by adding value on the initial part of my conversation with what I do. And I will ask them the question, do you want to pay the commission for a buyer's agent? The big question, I see a big question mark that comes in over their head. What are you talking about? Well, my fee is 3%. If I'm doing some of the other really incentive stuff that goes in with the probate process, do you want to pay? I might come in a little bit higher, but if you want to, the question is, do you want to pay a buyer's agent with it? And they look at me and they go, what do you mean? I said, we can pay them nothing, or we can pay them 1%, or we can pay them 3% if you want to do that. Here's the value of having a buyer's agent come in. I will be doing my marketing in different ways for your property, but there are, in my market, in Northwest Arkansas, I have about 3,000 of my closest friends called realtors. A lot of them are buyer's agents, and each one of them has a network of about 100 to 200 people that they know and circulate. So there's a certain amount of value of having a buyer's agent pay attention to what he's got. If he can bring him in, there's a certain amount of value that they bring into it. As a result of doing that a couple of times, I started thinking, I really have to start building value, which Bruce has done. I love the language that Bruce uses, and I'm working to be as good as him on my language skills. But I'm now working on something that I can do with. And it's a five-page thing that I'm in draft form. I call it, what is the value of a good real estate agent? And there's right now 90 plus tasks that are accomplished by a listing agent. And there are about 90 tasks plus completed by a buyer's agent that I have. And I'm looking for a format to ease that conversation so that I do it. The value of the good real estate agent is the first page, and it starts off with, we're in the business, and our charter is to live up to the golden rule: do unto others as we would have you do unto themselves. And that's in the NAR bylaws. Yes, Bruce, you're about to say something.
Yeah, actually, I was going to bring up that there were a couple of probate related questions. So go ahead and wrap up your thought. I don't want to cut you off because it was good, but I do have to get to some probate questions.
Good, because I want to get off this, and I want to leave it with you. I'll send this to you, Bruce, and I look for someone you might be able to use what I've got, modify it or something, make it pretty, make it more linguistically powerful, and do that. So I want to send
Amazing.
that to you. But what I would really like to do is I'd like to get some help from ATL to help me with my radio show that I have every Tuesday on my Facebook page. I'd like to get it so that I can create a YouTube channel, and on Facebook. And I think I can do that with Zoom, but I'm not sure. So that's where I'm going to leave it with you. Help me. I'm stupid.
Hey, Bruce, if I could, I just want to make a quick comment. It's amazing how the more things change, the more they stay the same. In the early 1970s, when I started in the business, there was a guy called Tom Hopkins
Yes,
that had
absolutely.
a for sale by owner first aid kit that he sold. And it was about, here's how to sell your home yourself. It was about 85 pages long. And it was numbers of local attorneys to call when you get sued. It was, so it just reminds me of what you're doing there. The harder you make it, the more you impress and everything you have to do, the less likely they're going to want to do it themselves. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Bruce.
With regard to your YouTube channel, I think that ATL and your MIS can probably get you set up with some of the marketing side of that, I believe. You can do your videos on Zoom. I would recommend it. Is it the highest quality video out there? No, not even remotely close, but it's the easiest to get done. I found in my business that when I sit down in front of a professional camera with the teleprompter, I just never get anything done. There's so many steps to the process of putting out a highly professional set of videos that if you're not working with someone, if you're not technologically savvy or savvy with that, or geek out on that, or you're not working with someone, you won't get it done. So I find that it's just as good, if not better, to go ahead and sit in front of your lower quality Zoom camera and have a little slide that pops up and just talk to your Zoom video with the record on and get video out. Even if you're not ecstatic with the quality of the video imagery and the pixels on there, it's okay. It's okay. Nobody cares. You can work on professionalism later. The key to start with is get the content out. Content, because that's where authority and credibility are established. And if you want authority and credibility, especially from leads that don't know you from Adam, you need to start putting content out there. They will find you and it will boost your authority. And next time you call them, they're, instead of saying who, they're going to say, oh yeah, I've been watching your videos. Our good friend Courtney Rollins hears that a lot. He goes to the courthouse every couple of weeks and sits in court. So he sits in court and people come up to him all the time and say, I've been watching your YouTube channel. And if you look at his YouTube channel, the videos are okay. They're not great. And it's okay. The sound is okay. It's not great. And I'm not picking on the quality of the videos. The idea is he puts weekly content out. People find it and then they approach him in court or when he calls. They know who he is. They're going to check you out, especially if you've marketed to them or you've called them. Okay. So Roger, that's really good. Just put the content out, do it on Zoom. You can professionalize it later if you want. So I want to answer really quick. This is one of the last questions that came in before I get some of the earlier questions. This is one that's really fast. As the majority of you know, I purchased a program called Probate Mastery recently. Probate Mastery is a certification course that's currently about 15 hours of education content around everything that you should be doing in the probate space as you build this niche out. It's taught and currently it's formatted as it's delivered by my predecessor and former ATL partner, Chad Corbett. Great course. I'm redoing the course work to put it in my voice and add some nuance and intricacies and break it into beginner, intermediate, and advanced level content. But right now, the way the course sits, it's still really good. And you get the certified probate expert designation. Someone had asked if there was a difference between probate mastery and the course Probate Principles and Practices? And the answer is yes. Probate Principles and Practices is a step-up class from our free class, which is called Probate Foundations. So anyone here that wants to learn just the basics of what probate business is going to look like and an overview of how you can structure your business, go take the free class Probate Foundations. At that point, you're going to see Probate Principles and Practices for like $20. That's a 3-hour class that kind of gives you some action steps that you can take in your first, let's say, 30 days of building your business. It is worth way more than $20. It's mainly to kind of get people into action. It's a good class. It is not probate mastery. However, mastery covers everything that Principles and Practices covers, and about 30 times more. Okay. So I would, if you're already planning to get your designation, your certification, certified probate expert, you're already planning to take mastery, don't take Principles and Practices. That's just for the person that asked, and those of you that are wondering what the difference is. Mastery covers everything. Principles and Practices covers, it just goes a lot deeper into each one of the topics. So I wanted to answer that for Steve. I appreciate you asking that question. So Josh asked the question that you're finding a lot of homes are already listed. So I wanted to lay out some basic ratios for you guys. And this is not accurate in every single market, but it's a good rule of thumb. Somebody goes to the court and they file probate. About 70, I've seen as high as 85%, but about 70, maybe 75% of the time, there is real estate involved in that estate. Depending on what state you're in order to have to file probate, your total estate value needs to be more than normally $50,000. In some states, it's 100. In California, it's like 184,000. So for you to have to go file probate, you have to have value in the estate that you're filing probate. If they have $20,000, they don't need to file probate. They get to avoid it altogether. So just know that anyone that goes and files for probate, they're inheriting some value. It might not always be net value. Sometimes it's gross value. So there could be a $200,000 house with a $198,000 mortgage on it. Well, the value of that estate is still $200,000. It's not $2,000. So they would have to file probate if their overall gross value is over $50,000 in most states. Now, because of that, the majority of estates and probate cases are going to have real estate, and it is somewhere in the 70 to 75% range. I find that somewhere between 40 and 50%, sometimes a little higher in some areas, somewhere between 40 and 50% have real estate that is going to sell. Okay. There's real estate and it's going to sell. So somewhere between 40 and 50%. So you get 100 leads. There's 40 to 50 somewhat short-term deals in there. All right. Short-term could be anywhere from a day to a year and a half. All right. That's what short-term is. You've got a pretty small number of people that are cash strapped. They don't have a lot of liquid assets in the estate, and they are going to be in a flat out rush to sell the real estate. It's not a lot of people, but that does happen. You've got some folks that are just in a rush. If you're getting the statement when you're prospecting that, hey, we already sold, we already have a realtor, dig a little deeper. I find that many times they're not lying, but they don't mean what they're saying. What they mean is, my neighbor's a realtor and we're thinking about listing with her. Okay. Or, hey, we already sold. My next question is, hey, that's great. I'm so glad to see that you got ahead of the game. When did you close? Oh, we haven't closed yet. Okay. Do you have a close date picked yet? No, we don't have a close date picked yet. Okay. You're under contract though, right? Well, my neighbor's going to buy the house, but he hasn't put it in writing yet. Okay. So suddenly when you start to unravel their story and pull on that loose string, you realize that the person that said that they already listed, they already sold, they're already under contract, they're not. they don't know the process that well, so they don't recognize that there's a whole lot of things that have to happen. And now you can get in and present your value. Would you be open to seeing if I could get you a better price, or would you be open to another offer if I could close sooner, or that kind of thing? So if you're getting a lot of people that say we already sold, dig a little bit. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're exaggerating their position a bit. And it's don't judge them for exaggerating their position. Same as I would ask you not to judge me if I exaggerate my position on those things. So you're a stranger on the phone. I'm going to exaggerate my position to see if you just let me go. But if you're a good conversationalist, you can uncover opportunities where they're quick. Hey, we already sold. Answer was missed. So to Josh, I hope that because there were several questions, I hope I'm answering all of your questions. If I'm not, raise your hand or keep chatting in.
Hey, Bruce,
What I would,
if I could add real quick to it. If you truly are in a market where there's a ton of investors and they're reaching the people early, try our pre-probate product. We do have one gentleman, I was hoping he would be on the call today, that has had pre-probate in 5 counties, and he just added 3 more. He's doing extremely well with it. So you are legitimately in a market. I agree with Bruce. They're probably exaggerating, but if is a strong investor presence and they're getting there early, try the pre-probate. You can get there even earlier. Try that as an add-on to your regular probate leads.
Yep, absolutely. So if you're looking at properties that are already in the MLS, so let's say you look at your lead and the decedent's address is 123 Main Street, you pop it in the MLS or Realist or whatever tax service you're looking at, and you see that it's listed, that's certainly accurate. Now, what I would say, and again, this is a general rule of thumb, it may not be exact ratio in your market, but I find that 10 to 15% of your leads do have multiple properties, or another 5%, maybe 10%, that address that's tied to the decedent's, the decedent's name is assisted living, and they do still own another property. So don't discount the people whose decedent addresses are tied to assisted living or nursing homes. A property that I have been trying to negotiate a deal on for weeks or months now is someone that's in assisted living. If this gentleman, he's older, if he were to pass away and he comes out on a probate record, it would show me that he lives at a nursing home. He actually owns a piece of land with a cabin on it that I want really badly. Okay. I would have no idea if I was only looking at the decedent's address. So if anyone wants to know what other properties have recently been tied to a decedent, you might want to try the add-on service Property Plus that runs it through some additional skip tracing softwares, and will identify what other real estate could have been owned by that decedent. Is it 100%? It's not 100%. It's about 95% accurate. And it does sometimes show properties that were tied to the decedent that are or were recently sold. So you got to consider some people knew that their time was coming, and they made plans and they listed property a month, weeks before. They put in their will, hey, as soon as I pass away, I want the property on the market in a week. It's not the norm. You're going to have a certain small percentage of people that move really quickly and sometimes move before the loss. The majority of people that go through probate are going to start selling real estate somewhere between month 4 and 6. And that's just the majority of folks that are going to be selling real estate that they've inherited. Okay. Any additional questions on that? If I missed anything, please let me know. I'm going to go back up to a few questions. Let me go to
just to the point that you just made. And I know we've got Steve's got his hand up too, but the other thing I was going to say is don't confuse what Bruce said by, it's going to be 4 to 6 months before they sell. If you're not already involved with them at that point, you're way late. Yep. And that's the key element. It's that you're going to find, we've been at this a very long time. And since 2013, 14, when we started, there are people that literally need to sell that house the day after the person that died. They've got to go do that as quickly as they can, because that was the breadwinner. That bread is no longer coming in the door, and the only source of revenue for the family going forward to allow the family to survive, sell that house. That happens. That's what we've always talked about, the lit fuse on probate. There are some of those. Those are the ones that have that lit fuse, and that's what makes it a great opportunity for someone to come with a cash offer that can help them out. It's also why we reached out and established a relationship with Probate Cash that allows people to access funds that do want to wait a bit longer and make more money, and they're willing to do that, but they've got to have some quickly. We provided a way for you to do that as well with Probate Cash. But don't think that you can wait, 4 to 6 weeks or months after you get leads in your hand or after you're starting to go after it. If you do that, you're dead. You've got that relationship in hand early on and continue to be working with them every month to get that done, help them get to that point. So, and we can talk a lot more about that. I mean, there's the estate sale side of that, clearing that home out of the possessions of the loved ones, or making accommodations for someone who needs to move from that house into assisted living. I mean, there are lots of things that have to happen in there. That's where your real value comes in. It's not all just about that listing. You can have great or sale. You need great relationships with a lot of people that can provide value to those folks. This is a process of providing true value, not just, oh, can I sell your house? Can I buy your house? But get in early. The sooner you do it, the better you are.
True.
Don't let them shut you down. I mean, a lot of times they're just like, oh, no, it's all handled. It's all handled. Okay, well, does that mean you have an attorney? They're like, yeah, I have an attorney. Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm not an attorney. Here's what I do. But people will try to shut you down. And our goal is to open up the conversation and keep it going. And I always say when I open a call, I'm playing detective to the person as a pattern interrupt, but that literally is the truth, because I'm trying to discover what's going on in their situation. So like Bruce said, when you start asking questions and all sorts of things come out, or they basically stonewall you, you ask another question, and then all of a sudden they tell you their whole story about the person that passed away, the property they've inherited, etc. So don't be that fast to get off the phone. If you have somebody that answers the phone, keep them there and hold to the conversation. Like, I don't want to get off the phone until I know for sure the property's actually sold or what's happened. And then if they were like, hey, we did close, hey, God bless you, congratulations on your sale. But like Bruce said, many times it actually hasn't happened, but you got to stick with the conversation. But anyway, I have a question myself. I've been busy making my calls, and things are going really well. I got a lot of great leads. I got 2 houses I'm looking to buy. But my concern is if I come in with too aggressive of an offer, then I will lose the property in the bidding process, and then I might wind up with nothing. So should I refer it to somebody else to list it, and then I act as the buyer? And maybe have that person represent me as a buyer's agent, because in our state here, if someone gets outbid, the buyer's agent that had the original offer is still going to get paid half the commission. So, in a regular flip, you just make an offer. If they accept it, boom, you're good to go, and you go to close. In probate, how do I protect myself as a potential listing agent, buyer's agent, and purchaser?
I think the first thing is, and I realize you're dealing with courts and an overbid process, but before you even get to courts and an overbid process, you need to really understand what the other seller or what the seller is dealing with. So are they meeting with other people? Do they have other offers on the table? You need to be able to ask in an influential way, in a way that's going to get an answer, what they're dealing with. So you come in too early and too high. That's certainly a risk, but it's really mainly a risk when you haven't gotten any information from the seller. Yeah. How many other people are looking? Anybody else offering? what I wouldn't say what's the lowest you'll go, but I would say, hey, a ballpark, where are the other offers coming in? Okay, and I'm just going to start to uncover some of the what I'm up against. And I can get a whole lot of information on what my competitors are doing, both on the listing side and the offer side, just by having a conversation with the person before I ever even put my offer in.
And
Now,
isn't there also, Bruce, the same thing is, wouldn't one of the questions be, so are you comfortable fielding multiple offers, and you're trying to work basically you're trying to conduct an auction here, Mr. Seller. Is this something you're familiar with? Do you understand how that's going to work? Do you have time to do this correctly? If not, maybe I can help you do that. And that may be a lead back into getting the listing side. I think you're muted, Ken.
Am I? I don't think so.
I can hear you now, but I thought you were talking.
I would say this scenario is kind of beyond that, because of course there's always wheeling and dealing. If they're talking to a bunch of other people, then it's trying to position yourself to be either the buyer, the agent, or be involved in the transaction somehow. But I'm saying, okay, like right now I have one particular seller. You could just hear it in her voice. She doesn't care about the money. She just wants the hassle of having to deal with this house off of her hands. There's break-ins at the house, but it's just one of these people that just like don't want to deal with it at all. So I'm relatively certain that I can come in with a strong offer and get it accepted. But then again, like I said, how do I protect myself that I don't get outbid by another investor?
Two ways, and both strategies are going to be equally efficient. So strategy number one would be make an offer where, depending on what your area's overbid process is, a lot of times it's 5%. I don't know what yours is, Ken, but if it's 5%, make your original offer to where somebody doesn't want to go 5% higher. So that means you're going to be a little higher, where 5% can make or break somebody's profitability. Or you could come in, get something signed at a low enough deal to where if you get beat by 5%, you can jump on top of them by 5% and still be comfortable. So your strategy either needs to be go on the higher side where you don't think anyone's going to want to beat you by your overbid amount, or go low enough to where you can just add 10% to it and still be comfortable if somebody beats you.
Right. Okay. That does limit the ability to get the best deal possible. I mean, but what about my question about having somebody else list the house? That way I know I'm going to get commission. Even if somebody beats me out, there's still money that's going to be revenue that's going to be produced.
If I could jump in real quick, I don't even think that's necessary. I bought and flipped a ton of properties. I would always ask them the first question, and you might want to soften this a little bit. I used to always ask them, if I came in, paid cash, and closed at a time that's convenient to you, what price are you looking for on the property? What's the best you could do? You'd be surprised how often they'll tell you, at least from my experience, or they'll at least give you a ballpark. So then you know where you're at. And of course, the second question, no matter what they say, is that the best you can do? And then the third one is, so you're telling me if I don't pay that price, we don't have a deal? And you can be a little less aggressive with that if you're also looking to take the listing. But I wouldn't be afraid to just ask them, just ask them, do you have a number in mind? I'm just curious. I mean, I can write an offer, but I want this to be a win for both of us. Do you have a number in mind? And maybe you've already done that. Have you asked them?
Again, yeah, I have. I'm saying, assuming that the deal is already in place, how do I protect myself from getting outbid? And if I get outbid, is it good to have a listing agent so I'm going to get a referral from that commission? So I'm monetizing.
Make sure that if you do, yes, you could do that. If you do, make sure that you're disclosing, well, you have to disclose your license status anyway. Josh pointed that out. I appreciate that. Disclose your license status anyway, not only because I know, can you list as well? Right. Not only that, but you need to disclose to them what they could potentially get by listing and going for a high price. It's not just saying, hey, I'm a realtor, let me lowball your house. It's, hey, I'm a realtor, I could get you this if you listed. This is the process that we would need to go through. And here's what it would be if it's just cash convenient. You choose.
Right. And there's off-market MLS forms. Again, that's to protect ourselves. So if it doesn't go on the MLS, if I refer it to a listing agent, they list it, then they're going to sign the off-market MLS forms with the seller. And then I would come in. But I'm just saying that way I protect myself.
Ken, I must be
Exactly.
missing something, because when you asked her, did she give you a number, what she wanted?
Yes.
Okay, and are you happy? Are you comfortable with that number?
Correct. I think I feel like you guys are missing the question I'm asking though.
Well, why not sign the contract right then? Okay, you want 180. I'm willing to pay that. Sign this contract.
And then I go to probate court and I get outbid.
There's no way. There's no way to completely protect yourself. Just make sure that if you get outbid, that you are comfortable outbidding the outbidder. There's not a strategy to protect yourself unless you go to a listing agent that's going to get half of the commission. You could do that.
Yeah, but that's better than walking away from the whole deal and writing the offer and waiting for the probate court, and then you walk away and you get nothing. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, or again, if you list the house and then you find an investor buyer, that might be the way to do it too, because that way, even if my investor buyer gets outbid, then I know I'm going to get the listing side, and I'm also going to get half of the buyer side commission.
You could always write a contract with a novation addendum and a listing agreement, and now you're the listing agent, and you have a novation that you can wholesale, or not wholesale. You can remarket the property.
Right.
So you could do that and be the listing agent. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but yeah, if you really want to protect yourself, go ahead and either do the novation agreement with, or addendum with a listing agreement, or bring in a third party agent that's going to list it and make something, whether you're able to close or not.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
And I guess Steve's been waiting there for.
Yeah. I've got a couple of things. So real quick, on Josh's question about the attorneys, in most cases, unless the county does not provide it, in most cases, if there's an attorney that filed the probate, you're going to get that list. I love advising people to go after attorneys. I go after attorneys primarily off of LinkedIn. I look up probate and estate planning attorneys on LinkedIn. That's how I pick my attorney list, or Google. I don't always go off of the ones that are filing. Because sometimes they don't put their name on the filing. If they do, if their name is on the filing, then it's going to show up on an ATL list. And someone from ATL, please correct me if I'm wrong. I did take a look at Josh's list, and there aren't attorneys on there. So I'm assuming it's because the county does not provide, it does not leave a place for that the attorney's name to go on there.
That's correct. So, I looked as well as soon as I saw that, and unfortunately, in the counties that he's in Jersey, and those counties do not include it in the court record. And that's what we furnish back. That's what we start with, is that court record, and they don't have them.
Yep. So that was something. However, there's tons of different ways. The majority of my attorneys didn't come off of calls that I made because I saw their name on a probate list. Most of them came off of Google, referrals from financial advisors and other attorneys, and then also LinkedIn. And I just build my list that way. Now I use attorneys that are on probate records as well, but it's not my primary source of getting attorney names. So Steve, go ahead, unmute yourself, please. While you're asking your question, I'm just going to scan to see what other questions were chatted in that I missed. And I do apologize to those of you that chatted in questions that I haven't answered yet. I will try to get those in a sec.
All right. Well, thanks, Bruce. I appreciate it. And it's kind of a smorgasbord response, part of what I said to you, but also to Tim and Jim publicly. Always appreciate hearing from Roger as a very senior practitioner as to what he does, because you always learn stuff. And even with Roger being very successful, now he sees another option with, a reverse mortgage for someone to sell their house and purchase it and be able to put it in and just solve another problem. So that entrepreneurial spirit is really there. And it just speaks to the growth mindset. Tied to Ken as a coach. Can answer a lot of questions, but he's got his own questions. Of course, he goes to the head of the line because he's a coach and makes the rest of us wait, but that's okay. We value what he.
That's why I kicked it back to you, but I didn't want to get off the call again because this is a question I had last week that I wanted to ask. So
right, and of course, Ken, you have zero you have zero opportunity to pick up the phone to speak to Jim or to Tim or to Bruce at will. But that's okay. That's all right.
Steve.
I'm just saying. Okay. But I think your point too, Ken, that you said, or even Bruce talked about it, when someone says, yeah, I haven't closed yet, I have a closing date. Look, fractured closings are still 15 to 17%. So almost 1 in 5. Even when they get to the closing table, it may not be something they can do. So you just don't know. You're trying to solve that issue. And then finally, my last point, Bruce, is really more directed at you. As the real estate agent and entrepreneur extraordinaire, you talked about using film on Zoom or even like Corey's doing on YouTube. Very intrigued by this. And I know it can be rudimentary. Have you considered in Probate Mastery another course to just do a quick tutorial on that? I'm not saying I can't go out there and learn it, but I think there's an opportunity there. You were talking about it, was like, why doesn't he have this? He already knows about it. He can speak to it pretty well. And I know I can get out there because I'm thinking, do I buy a camera? Do I hire some kid who, is in a college program who's doing filming? And I agree with you. I've thought about this, but I haven't done it. So your point is well taken. If you have to take all these additional steps, it's likely not going to occur. Mm-hmm. And if I get anything from your comments is, look, as long as your content is solid and you're saying the right things, the quality of what you're putting out, I don't think most people really care. Because you can see something wherever, social media, and if it's funny or if it's pertinent, that's what you're going to take. Not, hey, you know what? It was kind of grainy. I could see that light bulb was out of focus. No one's going to care. Yep. So thanks.
When you're head to head with someone with high quality video and audio is better than video, by the way. But if you're head to head with someone with high quality audio and video and you're putting out equally important content, the person with the better quality video is going to trump you if the content's equal. But I'm just going to tell you, 99% of people do not put any content out, and this goes to me too, until it's perfect. And they have libraries full of video content that has to be spliced together and graphics put on it and things doctored up and edited, and it never gets produced. And there's so much content out there that the public is never going to see because the creator is waiting for it to look good. So just get something out. Yes, in the updated version of Mastery, there will be probably, I haven't gotten to that session yet in my recordings, but there will be some video and YouTube and questions to ask and ways to interview attorneys and different things like that are going to be included in that. So there will be some tutorials. Since I haven't gotten to that session yet, I can probably adjust it to show creating a YouTube channel and show creating a playlist. So yes, I appreciate that idea. I was going to do a little bit of it. I can do a lot of it.
No, well, you said the most operative word, yet. I appreciate that. And my final thing, because I can't make a comment or a question unless I say good morning to Winston out on the West Coast. So I'm done.
Yes. Yes. Good morning, Winston. Okay. Stephen, when sending out mailers, how do you determine which customer calls you back? Do you use reference numbers, docket numbers? Can we use a short code for each mailer? Some people do use a short code or their own special phone number for each mailer. Some people do that. Call 8. I think it's KALL and the number 8. Don't quote me on that, but that's a good way to set up a bunch of different inbound phone numbers that get tied to different marketing approaches that you use. So you can do that. I don't do that. I usually use 1 or 2 voice over IP numbers. When the call comes in, I don't have to know who it is. I usually go to my search. If I'm in front of my computer, I'll punch the phone number in and I'll hit search to see before I answer to see if I know who it is that's calling me. If I'm not in front of my computer, it's okay. I just say, oh yeah, you're probably calling off of the letter that I sent. Please forgive me. I'm running around. Who is this I'm speaking to? And then, and I just tell them, look, I'd love to, it's embarrassing. I'd love to say that I know exactly who you are. Tell me a little bit about your situation. And then I get them talking. And I don't I don't mind not having all the information at my fingertips because I'm just going to tell them. If you're uncomfortable because you don't know who's calling you back or what they got, just point out the elephant in the room. Say, hey, I'm so sorry. I was running around and I'm not at my computer. Tell me which letter you got. Okay. Or tell me, are you involved in probate? Tell me a little bit about your situation, and then I'll tell you what this is about. And it's okay to tell them that you don't know who they are. It's okay. So that hopefully that helps a little bit there. Looking at other questions, I don't think we have any other questions. Those of you that did chat in questions, please forgive me. We are a little over on time. Tim, Jim, Ken, do you guys have anything to throw in before we go to Jim to wrap up the call?
Just one other quick thing that I would just add is that several of them are asking you for some, excuse me, additional info on Mastery and some other stuff that's in there. And I'm sure you'll get back to them directly, and you need to do that. That's all.
Yeah, let me just say, I'll get back to you guys directly, but let me just say really quickly, if you buy Mastery, Probate Mastery is $600. It comes with a certification. It's a massive amount of value and content. There is more content that will be added really soon. Don't hesitate and not do it because it's not more content's not in there. I'm going to be adding content the whole time. If you're an All the Leads subscriber, you get a 10% discount. It's $540. So if you're a subscriber, go buy through All the Leads. Don't come to probatemastery.com. If you want to go to probatemastery.com and check us out, that's totally fine. But if you're a subscriber, get that discount by buying under the All the Leads, the training drop down at alltheleads.com. And I will talk to anyone that has any questions about that. But it goes foundations, that's free. Principles and practices is $20. If you already know you're going to take Mastery, don't need to go take foundations or principles and practices. They kind of build on each other, and Mastery kind of gobbles up all the content out of those first two classes anyway. But if you're kind of dipping your toe in the water and seeing how the classes go, those are two great places to start, free or $20. They're really good places to start. All right. And Tim, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that was it. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't neglect to answer the questions that they had. And I know Josh had asked some questions, and I'm having Jordan reach out to you to get some of the other answers to some of the questions he had as well. We take the opportunity on these calls. Sometimes we don't hear from y'all except on these calls. And so we love it when you tell us things that you want to know, or, you didn't understand, or why didn't this happen or this happen? That's why we have these calls. And the only other thing I would ask is that if you haven't whitelisted us on your email client, make sure you do that so you don't miss our emails. And more importantly, same thing on the phone numbers. When we're trying to call you, a lot of the time y'all aren't picking the phone up, and that doesn't help either one of us. Not because we're trying to sell you something. Oftentimes we're trying to respond to stuff we know you need and you've asked. And I'll get on the sales team and say, hey, how come you're not reaching out to somebody about this issue? And they're like, we've called 6 times. Here's the data, and they're not picking up the phone. So either that's not happening, you're not following up on the voicemails or whatever. We're doing our dead level best to be responsive to what you're doing. Please take our phone calls and let us help you. That's what we're here for. Take advantage of everything we're trying to do. We're all about supporting you, and certainly not every time we call you on the telephone are we trying to sell you something. Typically, that's almost never what we call you about. We're probably the least aggressive marketing company out there. We make offers, but we're usually not beating you up to try to go get you to buy them. So we're here to provide support. Take our phone calls. That's it. I'm good. Jim?
All right. Well, before I do the regular wrap, I just wanted to say, hey, Ken, I apologize if I didn't completely understand your question. And Steve,
no problem. That's why we put it out there.
Steve is right. You can call me directly. We can talk about it.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you already do that. But I want to sincerely thank everybody for being here today. These calls are getting longer and longer. Everybody hangs around right till the end. We appreciate it so much. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. I want to challenge each of you, take one idea that inspired you on this call. Go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.